Comment on these before we go to questions or discussions?
No, it should all be self-explanatory, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, cool. I've got one from the Deputy CEO.
Just drawing Councillors' attention to recommendation number 86. Just noting that there is a recommendation in the minutes.
Okay. Councillor McCullough?
Can I presume that you'll take questions once they're put?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, as I said, I asked Councillor Kostowski if there were any questions, discussions. He said he was happy to take questions. The first question came from Deputy CEO, and I'm happy to take your question now. Councillor McCullough.
Thank you. I've got two, Mr. Chairman. The first one, while there is a very short paragraph in relation to the recommendation, which I'd be delighted to support, I just wondered if either of the members of the Lake Taupo Airport Authority, and I'm talking about page 5/5, that top paragraph there, whether they would like to explain in any more detail, because this particular triennium and this particular Airport Authority Committee has done this district proud, in my view, and I'm just interested that they have been able to do that under the current structure. And while I support their recommendation, I'd like to know a little bit more about how they think they can do it better under a new structure.
Want to extrapolate on that, please, Councillor Kostowski?
Basically, Councillor McCullough, is that the committee felt that it's only good business prudence in order to investigate any potential new methods or methodology of operating. As any business would do, you would do a self-critical analysis every so often to ensure that the delivery of the services provided is done to the best possible scenario. And all we are doing is recommending that you investigate whether or not, in fact, there's a better vehicle to ensure that the outcomes are provided to the best possible means.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my second question relates to back to page 5/2. And as we know that Councillor Kostowski is moving to perhaps more relaxed fields, and we may not have, therefore, the linkage that he provides between the Airport Authority and, for example, the current District Plan Committee. I'm just interested in these questions that have asked in relation to a rethink by the committee on the development of the area. Councillor Kostowski advised that the committee needed to be aware of Council's future annual plan, etc., and some of the other planning proposals. And I just wondered, could we have a bit more information about what is being proposed and where? Because while it's obvious that you guys will know who are on the committee, it's not that clear to the members of council what this development is and where.
So the question is, what development have we got in mind and where at the airport? Councillor Kostowski, answer please.
Well, to start with, that paragraph that you referred to, Councillor McCullough, was my attempt to ensure that the future committee ensures that any proposals or planning, as far as the commercial industrial structure plan, is in fact carried through with its intent to the district plan changes. As to any future planning as regards to future land that is still available for potential development at the airport, I believe it's still at the development stage, and we're still awaiting further input from parties that have potential interest in that land for further future development. Having said that, there's also a proposal, as you're aware of, that's in confidentiality from within council, that needs to be taken in consideration before the Taupo Airport Committee could make any future developments on Area 7A.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? Before we move on this, and I ask for all in favour, I'd just like to take this opportunity of saying that it's been an absolute pleasure for me, and I genuinely and sincerely mean this, to have worked with Councillor Kostowski, Mrs. Sue at the back of the room, Seamus Howard, and Mr. Wayne Taylor. I don't think I've missed anybody. We inherited at the beginning of this triennium an extremely disharmonious situation with the people, namely the tenants and operators at the Taupo airport. It was losing considerable amounts of money. We have got it into approximately a cash equal situation in and out, and we have a very harmonious airport at the moment. The only downside is we have lost a couple of flights from Eagle Air, of no doing of any committee, but I would like it recorded that it's been an absolute pleasure to have worked with those people on that committee, and hopefully we may be able to all regroup again in the new triennium. Thank you very much. All those in favour?
Mr. Chairman.
To say something.
I'm sorry,
there.
Sorry?
The committee took it over in a position where the fees and charges have gone through a robust and rigorous fee setting and lengthy process, and that was done by the previous committee. The previous committee had done all the hard work on getting the leases organised. So I don't feel it's fair for you to have criticised the former members of the airport committee that had put in all that hard work to get it up and running so it could go to a new committee with a fee structure that had been set, and all the business to do with the licences and the leases had also been improved and agreed upon by the airport users group.
Councillor Welsh, let me assure you, I came in here 3 years ago with Councillor Koswaski. Sue Ur came in about a year after, and we did hours and hours and hours of countless work towards the yielding up clauses and what have you at that airport, and we did not adopt the work that was done by the previous. We had to change it considerably to get the disharmony out of the airport, and I'm proud of that. Order. Thank you. Councillor McCully's next. I'll come back to you, sir. Councillor McCully's next.
Mr Mayor,
I'll come back to you, sir.
Table me where you altered those clauses.
Councillor Welsh, I'll come back to you. Councillor McCully, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I was going to suggest, and I can't remember after all of this who was the mover and the seconder of this. I wonder, because I was going to suggest a minor amendment for them to consider.
Me? No. Councillor Koswaski, and I seconded it.
Thank you. I wonder if you would consider, considering the amount of work that has been put in by this airport committee, whether you would consider including in the resolution this council's thanks to the airport committee, in the same way as I believe 3 years ago the previous council had the courtesy of thanking the previous airport committee. I think that's really rather important, seeing a lot of people put in a lot of time, and I think we should treat this with the appropriate decorum, Mr. Chairman.
Fine. You're the mover, Councillor Koswaski.
Happy to move that.
What are you actually moving? Can you read it out so it can be minuted?
That the current airport committee over the last, from, say, 2007 to 2010, I'm suggesting this to you, Councillor Kostowski, be thanked for all their efforts and achievements over the last 3 years.
Are you happy with that movement?
Yeah,
I'm happy as seconder.
It's basically reconfirming what I have said on page 5/6, third paragraph from the bottom.
Would you like to read that out for everybody's benefit?
That the current TAA committee for the 2007-2010 term be thanked for their efforts and achievements over that term.
Taupo District Council.
So if the mover's happy, I'm happy with that as a seconder. All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Moving on to Rugby World Cup 2011 Host Committee.
They're unconfirmed.
Sorry?
They're unconfirmed.
Yes, I realise that. Are you moving?
I'll move.
Okay. I'll have a seconder. Councillor Blythe or Ms McLeod, would you like to comment on the minutes before I open it up for questions or discussion?
Well, just one comment is, again, recommendation number 29. That's a recommendation to Council, and basically what's been proposed there is that when Council comes time to consider your annual plan, that you will also consider some additional funding for running the fan zones for the Rugby World Cup. So it's a consideration during the annual plan round.
Okay. Do you want to add to that at all before I take questions? Okay. Come together, good.
And just a question, do those fan zones cover the whole district?
Yes. Yes, we're nothing is 100% set in stone yet, but we are very mindful of Mangakino and Turangi and Taupo, and there will be fan zones, possibly Mangakino and Turangi only towards the very end when we've got games like that. So I'll take Councillor Hickling, then Councillor McCoy.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Could you just refresh our minds how many fan zones there are?
4.
There's 4.
Well, we can put one in Turangi, we can put one in Mangakino, we can have 2 in Taupo.
Doing a calculation.
Perhaps I
That's
could,
like 40,000 per fan zone.
Well, I know Councillor Deputy Chief Executive Officer Miss McLeod can fill us in a bit in, but nothing's set in stone yet. We've got funding partnerships in place that we don't know all the end results of yet, so it's still work in progress. But Miss McLeod, you could probably fill it in better than me.
yes, I can. If you recall, we're required to have 2 fan zones. That was part of the bid that we put to Rugby World Cup. What's been proposed is that yes, we will have 2 fan zones. One will be a family-friendly fan zone, and will be based in the Great Lakes Centre. And we're looking at having that fan zone running for all 45, for a total of 45 games. And the other fan zone is being proposed for 240 Toa Street and will run 8 times. We're also providing, and this is kind of an extra, if you like, that we've brought in because of the importance of this being a district-wide function. Both the screens visiting Turangi and Mangakino, and that will happen 4 times. So that's what's been proposed there.
And that's the cost of moving them around as well.
Well,
The costs associated with the fan zones are largely related to 240 Toa Street and the fact that we actually have to close the street each time. Now, the largest costs associated with that are for security, and the fact that you do have to have security guards, plus also additional staff costs, and back up in terms of things like St John's, that type of thing. There is also proposed that we hold a concert, but we're seeking funding for that from the national fund that's been set up for Rugby World Cup.
Well, that's sort of an overview of it, but on the business side of it, and I don't mean to scare anybody that might be watching a webcam in 240 Toa Street or something, we will be looking to do some partnerships with those businesses down there. They stand to gain from having a fan zone, so let's have a talk to them. Those TVs can be used for advertising between games and what have you, so there's a lot of revenue streams we can work on, so it's still pretty much up for discussion. What have you, Councillor McCoy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I'm totally in support of the Taupo District business community gaining as much profit as they can over the period of the Rugby World Cup, this is the first time I think ever that I've sat here and been asked to recommend on $150,000 being considered without a budget breakdown. And I'm sorry, I wonder, is there a budget breakdown somewhere as to what this money is to be spent on? I'd like to know what is proposed to be raised, for example, in sponsorship. Is it dollar for dollar, for example, for the $40,000 to be spent in 240 Toa Street? Because I would like to suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we perhaps delay this recommendation being turned into a resolution until this council has a little more information on which to base their recommendation. $150,000 may be, in some people's minds, not too much in relation to our overall budget, but I would suggest to you that there are many people who won't be in the slightest bit interested in the Rugby World Cup who pay rates, and there will be many businesses that will not get the same sort of favours that the businesses in 240 Toa Street get. So let's be fair. Can we have some more information before we put this to the vote, please?
Could we, just in reply to that, be mindful of this is only a recommendation to the new council to take to the annual plan for Rugby World Cup next year? Now, those of us that are fortunate enough to be sitting around this table and after 10 more sleeps, will get the opportunity in the new year to look at the budgets, go through it, receive submissions,